In this video, we're going to take another look at how to use arithmetic, comparison and logical operators in Python programs. So here's a recap of the arithmetic, comparison and Boolean operators that you need to be able to use in Python for the on-screen Paper 2 exam. And we introduced the concept of how each of these operators worked back in 2 videos under topic 1. If you can't remember, go back and watch those videos first, because in this one we'll be diving straight in and showing you how you'd use them with some Python examples. So let's start with arithmetic operators. And first of all, division. So if I do print 6 divided by 3, I get 2.0. 6 multiplied by 2 obviously gives me 12. 2 to the exponent of 4 gives me 16. 3 plus 3 obviously gives me 6. 10 minus 5 prints 5. Now integer division, remember, says how many times does the number on the right fit into the number of the left whole times. So 2 fits into 7 3 whole times. So 7/2 gives me 3. In Python, 7% 2, percent is for modulus, says how many times does the number on the right fit into the number on the left, then what's left over. So 2 fits into 7 3 times, and what we have left over is 1. So 7% 2 returns 1. And of course, there's nothing stopping you combining different operators, and indeed enclosing various sections in brackets, just as you would in maths, to make bigger compound expressions. So here you can see I have 9 divided by 3 on the left, that would be 3, times by 1 plus 2, well that's 3. So I've got 3 times 3, which is 9. And then we're saying 9 modulus 3. So in other words, how many whole times does 3 fit into 9? Well, it's 3. And what's left over? Well, what's left over is 0. So the result of this whole expression is 0. We also have comparison operators. So let's have a quick run through those. For this to work, I've set 3 variables, A, B and C, and you can see that on the table on the right. A is 5, B is 5 and C is 10. So A equals B, well that would be true because A and B are both 5. A equals C is false. Likewise, if I say A is not equal to B, well that is false because A and B are equal. But if I say A is not equal to C, well that is true because A is not equal to C. They hold different values. Just as with maths, we have B is greater than A, that's false, whereas C is greater than A is true. Where B is greater than or equal to A, well that is now true because they are equal. And C obviously at the same time is still greater than or equal to A, so that's true. B is less than A, well that's false, they're the same. B is less than C, well that's true. Whereas B is less than or equal to A, well that's definitely true because they're both 5, so they are equal, and still B is less than or equal to C is still true. And finally, Boolean operators. So we're actually here going to show how we're going to combine some comparison operators and Boolean operators. So I've still got A equaling 5, B equaling 5 and C equaling 10. So I'm going to say A is equal to B. Well, that part is true because A and B are both 5. And C is greater than B. Well, C is 10 and B is 5, so that's also true. So I've got true and true. And when we use the Boolean operator and, both parts, the part on the left and the right, have to be true. So this statement prints true. The next one, A equals B is true and C is less than A. Well, C is not less than A, so that right-hand part is false. So I've got true and false. Well, we can't have that of an and statement. True and false is false, and that's what appears on the screen. So now let's have a look at an or statement. Now with an or statement, we only require either the left hand or the right hand side to be true for the whole thing to be true. So on the left we've got A is less than C. Well, that is true. Or C is less than B. Well, C is not less than B. C is greater, so that right hand bit is false. So we've ended up with true or false. Well, that's okay, because at least one of them was true, so the output's true. The next one, A is not equal to B. Well, A is equal to B, so that's false. Or C is less than B. Well, C is not less than B, so that's false. So now we've got false or false. Well, in that situation, the output's false. And then finally, we have the not Boolean operation, which simply reverses the state. So we've got A equals B. Well, A does equal B, they're both 5, so that's true. So then we have not true, which flips true to false. And then finally, we're combining things here. So we've got A equals B, well that's true, and C is greater than B, well that's true. So we've got true and true. So that whole right hand section is true. But then in the outer brackets, we not it, which flips it to false. So this is the point for you to pause the video. We've listed the arithmetic operators, what they do, and some simple examples on the right. So take some notes. And in a similar way, here we have the comparison and Boolean operators, along with some examples. So pause the video and take some notes. So that's the theory content of the video covered. We're just going to spend a little bit of time talking about the programming language subset. If you've heard this before, you can skip the rest of this video. Otherwise, it's definitely worth a quick watch. So the exam board at EDEXCEL have released a document that they call the programming language subset, which you can see here on the right. This document specifies which parts of Python 3 are required in order that the assessment can be undertaken with confidence. Students familiar with everything in this document will be able to access all parts of the Paper 2 on-screen assessment. The exam board will not go beyond the scope of this document when setting you any questions in the Paper 2 exam. Any students who do successfully use more complex methods, which are not included in the document, will still, however, be awarded marks. Further to this, you will see here from the front of the exam paper that you are actually going to be supplied with a printed and an electronic copy of the PLS during your Paper 2 exam. Well, if this document outlines everything you need to know in order to program in Python during the exam, and you can be guaranteed that you can answer all the questions using all the techniques in this document for full marks, then you might as well get used to using it now. Ask for a copy from your teacher and have it as a reference guide at all times throughout your GCSE course. It will be invaluable.